off of a mountain. And I'm like, well, I was just checking out this thing I saw on the internet. So
I just like eagles. Like, don't touch me.
All right, it's time. No more delays. CJ Entis is herO, not to be confused with Liquid herO, an excellent Protoss versus Protoss player. Currently at a negative win ratio in Pro League. That includes, of course, his StarCraft 1 history. But still, this guy is on the up and coming right now. One of the best new Protosses we have in StarCraft 2. And he is really, really riding the hype train right now. And actually, with the results we've seen from him recently, he's not been disappointing.
He definitely has not been disappointing, but he is up against this guy with a ton of fans in the audience. This is Stork, the Protoss player for Samsung. You see his record right now is 201 to 149 in losses. Overall, a very above 60% win ratio. One
of the old Protoss legends from StarCraft 1. Yep. You know, the group of Protosses in StarCraft 1 that would do well in Pro League, do well in the individual league, and you know, everyone who was a Protoss player in StarCraft 1 followed them because there's no question. You ask anybody, Protoss was the most underrepresented race, especially at the end of Brood War, and Stork was one of the better ones. You look at players like Cal and you look at Zhongbi, those are some of the other players. There's a few I could get into mentioning, but I'm not going to because it would take me too long to talk about that history. But this is why when that player, Stork, just came up on stage, on the screen, you saw people screaming his name because he is so famous, he's so well known in StarCraft 1, and there's so many fans in the studio here, I'm sure just because they knew he was playing and they wanted to watch him play. He's got a massive following, even though he's not favored when it comes to Heart of the Swarm stats. You look at his Protoss versus Protoss win ratio, his win ratios in general. You look at fan favoritism, you look at the crowd who they're cheering for, this guy is at the top right now. Probably the biggest fan favorite, perhaps even besides Flash, for the whole day.
Yeah, and you have these guys who just have so much history behind them. People remember watching them back in the day and just have such fond memories that they're such a big fan of these players, and that's why it brings so much hype to these games.
All right, well, the map for this awesome Protoss versus Protoss on a two-player map is Yeonsu. It could be the very last match of the night. Let's find out who's going to take it. Will CJ Entis fall 0-3, or are they going to bring us to a 1-2 score? Let's find out when the PCs are ready in just a moment. Just another moment.
Seems like we have a little bit of a hiccup here.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little bit of time to get back into this game.
So hold your breath. Like we just were. Hold your breath, and then the hiccup will go away, and we'll go back into this game. That's a really exciting way for you to pass the time.
Just don't pass out. You want to be awake for this game.
Yeah. You know, herO looks like he had something that he would like fixed. All right, looks like it's ready. All right, here we go. Could be the final match of the night. Let's jump into it right now.
LTA는 SK텔레콤.
Up here in the top right, we have one of the Protoss players for this match representing CJ Entis. This is herO.
Otherwise known as herO Join with his clan tag in Brood War. And he's up against this player, a legend in StarCraft 1, trying to make a name for himself to the new StarCraft 2 fans. It's Stork, otherwise known as Song Byung-gu. There's so many GIFs on the internet of Stork fans. If you Google Stork fans, you will not be disappointed, I'm sure. Seriously, this is a player that, if you respect the history of Korean esports and you respect the history of StarCraft, you want to look at this guy with respect, the same way that you look at a player like Jaedong or Flash or Boxer, because he is worthy of your respect. herO is a player who is not so shabby in StarCraft 1 either, so Don't count him out. But in StarCraft 2, he's a much more accomplished player, which makes things a little bit tough for Stork right now going into this Protoss versus Protoss.
Yeah, like I was saying just before, like Stork, one of these guys that so many people have fond memories of watching his matches. Make sure you guys, if you're interested at all, you go back and watch those games, even if you didn't play Brood War. So many fun and awesome videos that I've seen as well.
Yeah,
just
I've been actually like
stuff.
You know, you didn't follow Brood War very closely, so I've been actually like going back and showing you like a bunch of cool highlight videos and micro tricks, and you know, it's fun for me too. Like one of the things I do at like 2:30 in the morning when you know I've watched all the StarCraft content, I've like studied all the VODs I want to study, I've looked up all the things that you know players have done recently. Sometimes I just want to like use a time machine through YouTube and go back and remember. And sometimes I see a match that I just missed in Brood War, and I'm like, wow, this was actually really cool. And you can always go back and if you didn't follow Brood War, you know, I think to ask you to go back and follow everything is actually unreasonable. But to just look at some highlight videos to get an idea of where these people came from, you know, look up Zhangbi's Storms, look up some of the timing attacks you've seen from Stork. Look that up. Look at Boxer's Allied Mines. You know, you hear about these things, you look them up, and you get a really good picture of what things used to be like. And you know, even look up some of the highlight videos of the players being introduced, the Korean Air Star League, for example. But
videos of Firebat herO running into the beach, into the water.
Firebat herO currently caster for GOM TV, commentates the GSPL and other leagues for GOM. So, you know, if you want to look at see where he got his start, you can just look no further than YouTube, look up that stuff.
The reason you want to watch that stuff is not so that you can like study how Brood Warriors play their stuff. It's just to get a better idea of where all these really famous players come from and why they're so loved and why they're so followed nowadays. It's really what it's all about. It's just going back to the roots, you know, because that was the game before StarCraft 2, which is what we're seeing now.
All right, so Brood War history aside, the history of this game is starting to unfold. We have a Twilight Council for herO, very quick, off of one gateway. The timing of this lends itself most likely to be for Blink research. What we see from Stork, on the other hand, is a delayed Twilight Council, which could also be for Blink because he went for double gate. That's why his Twilight Council is delayed. And it could be one of these Blink plays where he forces his way into his opponent's base with the Stalkers. And there's actually DTs on the way right now for herO. Yep. So not what I expected, but still something that that could work out.
Yeah, and with the Twilight tech out of Stork, he could be in some trouble here if he does not get any detection. But he's actually going for his own Dark Shrine. And at the same time, herO is actually adding a robotics facility to stay safe.
Ask any Protoss player who likes to play safe like Creator how they go DTs, and they will tell you that they get their robotics with it. Because that way you're safe, and you can also defend against a Blink Stalker transition perhaps. And now you see that Stork is also doing the same back at home. So slightly faster everything for herO, including the Nexus he's now adding. But a little bit more map presence right now for Stork. But if he doesn't use that, then it puts him behind in a sense. You know, he has those two Stalkers that's delayed all of his tech, but he doesn't scout with it, he doesn't pressure with it.
Really all he was able to get out of that was just a bunch more units. Maybe an extra Stalker here or there. But besides that, like you said, tech far behind, even the Nexus behind. He's going to have a hard time scouting that if he doesn't move his units out of his base.
One situation that could happen is because of the delay robotics tech for Stork. Oh, this is actually really interesting how this could work out. If he sends his observer to the north and doesn't see this DT, oh, okay, he sees it. So anything I just said is no longer relevant. But all he needs to do here is chrono boost that observer, put his Stalkers on hold position, and should be fine. In fact, he might even be able to trap the DT. Not quite.
Yeah, he was shortly chasing after it, and at the same time has his own Dark Templar trying to make his way in here, but herO very well prepared for this. He's able to pick this off so far.
Notice that herO hid the fact that he knew about the DT and hit the attack for the longest time so he could kill it for sure. Something that without the observer tech from Stork he was unable to do. Both players going for a Warp Prism, trying to maximize the efficiency of those DTs, trying to get into the main base, get something done. And this game is relatively even now, but definitely a lead goes to herO right now with that faster Nexus and also the quicker Immortal here.
Yeah, like we said before, herO just getting everything faster down to the Twilight Council, the Dark Shrine, the Robotics Facility, Immortals, Warp Prisms, Observers. Everything was faster. The Nexus as well. Stork is just now getting his Nexus up. And herO is starting to get his Forge up as well, while he's had that second Nexus up for a bit here.
Yeah. Here comes Warp Prism spotted, unfortunately for Stork, by an invisible DT lurking around. And now he's just going to... Well, he's got his Observer in position. One thing that we could maybe see is he's going to pick up that DT. Could also maybe like warp in 2 Stalker, try to snipe the Observer with his own. That would be kind of crazy. Here comes another DT, meanwhile, for herO, and I don't see any Observers nearby.
Doesn't look like there's much here. That's 2 probes right now. That's 3. He's going to continue going after this, and just now, after 5 volt down, 6, he is moving his probes. And like you said, no Observer over there, while his own Dark Templar is not doing much, continuing to get kills as his Dark Templar, going to go after that pylon as well. Just now going for it. He seems like he had to deal with something at his natural at the same time.
Looks like some DT, or at least one DT, running into his natural at the same time, so he's a bit distracted. Another pylon goes down, and will he get out? It looks like he will. Observer kind of messing up that chase, but he does get away. Fear not.
And herO getting the better side of that trade. Stork not getting much here, and at the same time, herO again, everything faster, getting the robotics bay up now, as well as a cannon in his mineral line. He's going to be very well prepared, unless we see something like we saw before with the Immortal and Dark Templar drop. That was cool.
Yeah. He can get 1 probe here. Its second one was good micro. He does get that. And does finally go down. Looks like he was dealing with that hallucinated Phoenix at home, kind of messed with him a little bit. But yeah, the tech much further ahead here for herO. He's going to have the faster Colossi. He has the faster +1. Things looking really, really good for him right now. He's also doing what I wish more players would do. Even in Korea, we don't see this enough, in my personal opinion, is a gateway wall at the natural for later on if, say, Stork says, you know what, there's no way I can win a straight up game. I'm not taking third base. I'm going to do Charge Zealot, Archon timing with some of my DTs and the Immortals. That wall there is something that he can fall back on. He hasn't completed it all the way because he doesn't want to unless an attack is coming. But that's something he could definitely easily do just by adding 1 or 2 gateways.
Just another added thing that's just some of these things that only the best of the pro players will do. They're just so prepared of anything that will come in the future. They're always thinking about all the different possibilities. And that's what you see out of players like herO.
I really like to see Stork with these DTs, on the other hand. Despite the fact that there are cannons in the mineral line and observers, he's like, you know what, I invested a lot in this, and I'm going to make this work. He's just coming in and swiping at the probe to tank a cannon shot, so what? If there's no units nearby, he's going to regen those shields. He can get some damage done. herO, again, with a gateway wall here at the bottom of the ramp, adding a cannon, just preparing for a macro game. He's already got the Colossus tech. He's got +2 on the way. So getting Stork back into this game is going to take a miracle. I'm not so sure what he can really do.
Yeah, I mean, we already had the Colossi tech coming out. He already has 1 Colossi. Does herO. He has the range that's about to finish. He's continuing with the Dark Templar harass. We see Charge coming out of Stork. But against all these Colossi, it's not going to be too great.
Plus the gateway walls, you know?
Yeah.
Gateway wall at the third base. Gateway wall soon to be completed at the natural if he wants it. That's one of the reasons why he hasn't completed it yet, is because he has that tight wall at his third base, so he wants to have at least an opening he can walk out of if he's moving out, which he's not doing just yet. This third base is so late for Stork. But Protoss versus Protoss is the matchup, generally speaking, where if your opponent takes the third base much faster than you, is the matchup where it's an okay choice to just sit back and take your own third. Because yes, you are going to be behind, but in PvP often it's just maxed out army versus maxed out army who has a better composition. So it's okay to say, well, okay, you're going to max before me, but I'm going to max a little bit after you, and we're both going to be maxed, so what? Obviously there are exceptions to the rule, but it's never ideal to take a third base after your opponent and just sit back. But in this case for Stork, what else can he do? He's going to try to harass you a little bit, and actually he's going to stop +2. Oh, quite nice. And maybe even get another pylon.
That's pretty big, actually. The +2 is about to finish, and that's going to put his upgrades ahead. And just little harassments like that can get him back in the game. Just going off of what you were saying before, I mean, like you were saying, if you take that third base later, you know, a lot of times you can just get away with it because your opponent is saying, you know, I'm going to wait back. I'm not going to hit that timing because the defender's advantage for Protoss is much better. And you can use that to your advantage. So you can say, okay, he's probably not going to attack me because he's scared. herO not deciding that that's what he's going to do. He's not going to sit back, not going to let his opponent do any little more of these little ticks onto his base. No more aggression. He's going for the attack right now. He's moving across the map.
Yep, look at this. Stalker's so what? And he's like, I'm an Immortal. Don't forget. Immortal's going into the main base. And to be honest, herO looks a little bit shaken here. It looks like he's starting to feel like he's forced to be aggressive, and he doesn't necessarily have to be. Well, there's no gateway wall here. Again, this is a big problem for some of these players. No gateway wall means these Zealots are going to do all so much more. And here we go. Time Warp goes down. Mothership Core going for the overcharge. The army for herO right now is so much stronger.
The army much stronger, but a very nice Time Warp onto a lot of those units, as well as Photon Overcharge could help him out here, but his only Colossi goes down for Stork. And you see the supplies right now, only one of those real Colossi does go down for herO. And with this Warp in, as well as the High Templar and Archons coming in, it's going to be really rough for Stork to hold this off.
Yeah, Stork trying to use that Warp Prism to actually go from the back to pick off some of those Colossi with more rallied units coming in here. Things are looking pretty grim. I mean, he's going to be able to target this Nexus down. Probes falling instantly to those Archons. Archons do not care about probes, not even a little bit. Few DTs being warped in here to actually try to help clean things up, but there's an Observer nearby. Goodbye DTs, and goodbye Stork. herO is going to take the first win for CJ Entis.
Yeah, not too surprising. We were talking about before the match how herO was probably favorited to win this match. Favorite, and he does give a kiss out to all of his fans on screen. He does seem a little embarrassed about that.
Yeah, well, you know, most people were rooting for Stork in this one. He's just blowing the Stork fans a kiss and saying, well, you know what? Thank you, too, because I won this game. I eliminated him. And
hey, guys, I'm good, too.
This is the beginning of a possible comeback for CJ. The next map is, for me, the most hyped of this matchup. Sora versus herO, the one I wanted to see, but I'm so glad I do get to see. Sora, the WCG runner-up, really hyped player right now. Took out so many great players in the WCG qualifier. Excellent performance of him at WCG. He ended up losing to Sulky in the finals, so, you know, is Zerg his weakness? Only time will tell. He's up against herO, GSL champion, won a Code S, a player who was my favorite Zerg to watch when the Brutal players were switching over to StarCraft 2, because I felt personally his multitasking in StarCraft 2 was the utmost best. And it didn't surprise me at all when he was the first Kesper player to win a GSL title. And he hasn't played yet this season. He's been hidden. And, you know, that means there's not a lot for Sora to study right now. So the choice to use him here, a smart one. And we'll